Social media makes travel look perfect, but if there's anything we've learned from our travels over the past decade, it's that behind every beautiful photo or video, there are countless mishaps, snafus, and travel blunders, many of which are completely avoidable. So today, as two travel content creators and former full-time travelers, we're sharing our 15 biggest travel mistakes, but more importantly, the lessons and learnings you can apply to avoid making them yourself. And of course, I'll save the most embarrassing one for last.
Okay, so it's literally day one of our 6 months of full-time travel. We were transiting through Frankfurt and ran into a massive line at passport control. The signage was sort of confusing between Schengen and non-Schengen entry, so we stood in this line for over an hour, only to find out later we didn't even need to be in that line. See, we just made the assumption that that line was for us, when in fact, it wasn't. You're likely gonna see queues for things all over the place, whether it's the airport, outside the Pantheon in Rome, or in front of Instagram famous sandwich shops. Don't always assume you need to stand in that line. Always confirm what the line is actually for. It's better to confirm in 30 seconds than to waste 30 minutes in the wrong place. This ties in nicely to a mistake that we routinely still make: not booking tickets for major attractions in advance. When you're planning a trip, there are so many details and things to figure out. It's so easy to make a list of things to see, but forget to actually go and buy the tickets. Some of these sites have mandatory reservations and they sell out weeks or even months in advance. Have we been to Milan? Yes. Did we get to see The Last Supper? No. Have we gone to Amsterdam? Yes. Did we get to see Anne Frank's house? No. Our advice is to research must-see attractions as soon as you book your trip. Buy tickets online immediately when possible, and if you can't buy far in advance, set reminders on your calendar on when to go and buy tickets. For last-minute plans, or if something is sold out, go check Viator or get your guide. Sometimes they have last-minute availability or guided tours that you can do if you can't get tickets directly from the site.
All right, let me tell you about the time that I was almost separated from my wife forever. Picture it. We just landed in Madrid and we were trying to take public transportation to our accommodations. It was a very crowded metro stop, and being opportunistic, as always, I sprinted to try and jump on the last-minute train that was about to leave, almost leaving Allie behind. See, what I didn't realize until after the fact was Allie had no clue where we were supposed to be heading. So had we actually been split up, she didn't have service down in the metro, she had no clue where she needed to go, and I basically almost left her stranded. What a jerk. Now, luckily, she made it on the train, but it was insanely close, and I definitely hear this story often. So a couple lessons here. First, to the boyfriends and husbands out there, don't leave your wife behind in a brand new place, okay? Second, make sure that everyone in your party has the address to your accommodations and data signal or an offline downloaded Google map of the city. Speaking of trains and leaving things, one time in Poland, I left my backpack on a train. And not just any backpack, the backpack that had all my most valuable possessions: my laptop, our drone, camera gear, copies of all of our important documents. All of it, I mean it, the works. Luckily, I was able to run back before the train left and grab my bag with everything intact, but the fact that it was still there minutes later is like unbelievable to me. When you're tired, you're distracted, you're in a rush, you're in a new environment, it can be easy to forget something. But another lesson, and it's kind of a recurring theme on our channel, is traveling with less means you have less to keep track of. It's also a good habit to do a physical sweep before leaving any location, like a train or a restaurant or your accommodations, just to make sure that you aren't leaving anything important behind.
Sort of the opposite of Nick's bag blunder. When we landed in Ireland on our honeymoon, I accidentally grabbed someone else's backpack off of the baggage claim carousel. Somehow, me and a guy on the same flight had the exact same bright green Osprey Porter 46-liter backpack. Wild. And not only did I just grab it, I took it, I walked out of the airport, I got into a taxi, and got almost 20 minutes away before getting a call from the airport that I had the wrong bag. Thank goodness I had a luggage tag on my bag that had all of my information. Without it, I'm not really sure what I would have done because this was long before Apple AirTags. If you do check a bag, make sure you double check that it's your bag when you pull it off the carousel. Even more useful, have something identifiable on your bag, whether it's a luggage tag, a ribbon, or a sticker. Another thing that's taken us a long time to figure out is how to balance our itinerary. When we were ending our full-time travels and settling in back home, we realized that we were exhausted. Why? Because when we look back at everywhere we had gone, we realized we moved on average every 3 days. For 6 months. We were burnt out. We experienced similar stress when taking our daughter on her first international trip. We visited Belgium and the Netherlands for just shy of 2 weeks, and we basically stayed in 4 locations, moving every 3 days. It was hard, stressful, and especially stressful with a baby. The lesson here is to not overpack your itinerary. We hear a ton of stories of 10-day trips to Europe and going to 3+ countries. This is wild. When you try to see everything, do everything, you end up not experiencing anything deeply. You're constantly rushing, stressed to make the next booked event, the next train. You never get to just exist in that place. Our advice is to make sure to slow down. Give yourself off days in your itinerary where you can just relax and leave room for spontaneity.
So throughout our travels, our preference for lodging has often been staying at family-run, mid-range hotels and B&Bs. But what I didn't realize for a long time is the negatives of using sites like Booking.com to book these stays. Third-party sites like Booking.com take a big cut, like 15 to 20%, which unfortunately is just a fact of life for most of these property owners. But if you can find an email address and book with them directly, the host is usually happy to give you a discount, which is something I've been doing for years, but it takes some real sleuthing sometimes to find an email. Well, a while back, I found a tool that does the work for you. I've mentioned them in another video, and then I basically reached out and said, hey, you guys should be a sponsor. It's a free Chrome extension called Directo. With Directo, you search for lodging the way you normally would, and once you find a place you like, Directo scans for contact info or alternate booking options that connect you directly with the host or property owner. You get the same place for less, and you're supporting the people who actually run the property. Check it out using the link in the description, and big thanks to Directo for sponsoring today's video.
There was a moment during our full-time travels where we forgot to look at the entry requirements for a country and literally couldn't get in. We were supposed to spend Christmas 2021 in Bansko, Bulgaria, but due to COVID requirements, we realized the morning of our flight we actually didn't qualify to enter the country based on quarantine sort of rules.
Yeah, like I can't even remember what it was.
Now, luckily we figured this out before actually getting on the plane, and yeah, COVID was like this whole mess and rules were changing every day, but it left us pretty much stranded without a plan of what we were gonna do next. We lost money on our accommodations and flights, and we were generally quite disappointed and frustrated. Now, the big lesson here is to always, always, always check the official entry requirements to the countries you plan to travel to. This could include things like checking if you need a visa, proof of onward travel, minimal passport validity, etc. With new programs rolling out like Europe's EES and the UK's ETA rule, you just don't want to get caught off guard. We've also found out the hard way a couple of times that we needed to have both physical and digital copies of important documents, tickets, and reservations. If your phone dies and it holds all of your important documents for travel, you might be up a creek when it comes time to need them. So beyond having everything stored digitally, it's wise to do a couple of other things. Email yourself a folder that has all of your documents in one place, print physical copies and put them in a Ziploc that you can easily access in your bag, and take photos of your important things like passports and IDs in case those get lost.
Okay, speaking of not knowing the rules, let me tell you about my first ever trip to Germany. I was riding the S-Bahn, maybe it was the U-Bahn, I can't remember. And at a random stop, a few unsuspecting looking people on the train pull out these machines and start checking tickets. I show them my ticket. They proceed to start asking for more info. The next thing I know, they're like writing me a fine. Why? I didn't validate my ticket. Now, Germany isn't alone in doing this. Many places do. Trains in Italy, for example, this is a thing. And typically there's gonna be some kind of machine nearby. If you're using a paper ticket, you just wanna stick your ticket in there to validate it.
Did you pay the fine? A more recent mistake for me, I was traveling with a friend on a quick weekend trip from Valencia, Spain to Sevilla. For almost everything, I was able to pay with a credit card, until I wasn't. We ended up at a cash-only establishment to watch flamenco, and I realized that neither of us had a way to get cash. Not a single debit card between the two of us. In a panic, I called Nick, who luckily found a solution to establish a temporary PIN on one of my credit cards so I could withdraw cash with a crazy fee on top, but we ended up fine. Still, a major lesson learned. Credit cards aren't accepted everywhere, and it's easy to forget that. You need to be able to access local currency.
Hey, if you've gotten value out of any of these tips, or you're simply enjoying laughing at our stupidity, please hit that subscribe button because we're trying to hit 300,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and you just might be the one to put us over the top.
So one time when trying to leave Athens, Greece, we walked 20 minutes from our Airbnb to the train station, only to find out that it was shut down due to a protest.
So we just walked 15 minutes to the metro that we need to take to the airport, and it's closed. I guess we're gonna have to pay for a taxi.
No idea until we got there. To top it off, we ended up having to take a taxi to the airport, which cost us way more than it should have because there was a line of taxi drivers outside of the train station just waiting to gouge prices on tourists who were unaware of the closure. Another time, we were traveling in southern Germany during the early winter off-season, and we booked a stay in a small village called Fusen, only to find out that basically everything closed at like 5 p.m. due to the off-season inactivity. The big mistake was just being unaware of what was going on locally, like holidays, protests, and of course, the off-season. The best practice is to do a simple Google search of public holidays at your destination to be aware of any closures or impacts to your trip. You don't have to avoid them, just be aware that things may be closed. A tip I picked up when we were traveling full-time was to follow local news sources or expat Facebook groups to get real-time information on things, especially protests that may impact your trip. It's also a great way to pick up insider information or even ask questions.
So if anyone here didn't know, we have an almost 3-year-old daughter, and at the time of filming this video, she's been to 11 countries, I think. And I know that sounds like a lot, but we waited until she was like 9 months old until we first took her abroad. Looking back, I think we could have started way earlier. Especially like 6 months and under, babies mostly just sleep and eat, which is not that crazy to manage in another country. It actually gets much more difficult when they're in that like 1 year to 18 month range. So my advice to new parents or parents who haven't traveled with young kids before, if you're nervous about traveling with newborns, start with a short trip nearby to see how it goes and just work your way up to a longer, further destination. Remember, babies under 2 fly free or very, very cheap, so take advantage of that. Those days are gone for us, and my wallet is feeling it. Also, I recognize that we've learned a lot about traveling with babies and toddlers, but that's probably not what 95% of you who watch our channel are here for. If you are one of the folks who'd be interested in occasional content from us about that topic, or maybe like a 1 hour long masterclass, comment STORK below. In my very early days of travel, I basically lived off budget flights. My first trip to Europe, I took an ungodly amount of $20 Ryanair flights. We currently live near a little regional hub, and many of the budget carriers fly from here to all over the USA. And thus, a lesson I've learned the hard way more than once is that many cities have more than one airport, and budget airlines don't always fly into the main convenient one. So when you're using Google Flights and you just type in the name of a city, be real sure you recognize the airport code of the place you're flying to, and you know how to get where you actually want to go from there. Taking it a step further, if you get a $20 flight, but it's an hour by car or bus from where you want to go, and then you got to spend another $50 or $100 for a transfer, was it even worth it? All right, as you figured out by now, we've made a lot of mistakes, and I think it's honestly one of the reasons we thought we'd do well with a travel tips channel. Like, let us screw it up so you don't have to. Well, this one takes the cake as arguably my most embarrassing, time-consuming, my husband is so stupid, travel blunders. Late 2021. We're headed from Croatia to Italy in our rental car. We're in a remote area between border crossings right in here. I pull over at a gas station. Our car's diesel, so I go to the pump with the green handle, I fill up, and we keep making our way down the road. Well, we get less than a mile and the car starts shaking and then basically dies on the side of the road. If you're from the USA, you might be like, oh, what happened? And if you're from Europe, you're like, this guy is such an idiot. You see, green in Croatia and throughout most of Europe is regular fuel, petrol, not diesel. And so what should have been a couple hours road trip to our next destination turned into a full day affair of waiting. A tow truck in the opposite direction of where we needed to go, a new rental car, and a whole lot of worrying about how much this would cost us. Now, lucky for us, trip insurance covered the cost of damage to the car. The car wasn't actually that damaged, thank God. But for the biggest takeaway, I'm gonna let my past self do the talking.
When you're traveling, especially traveling internationally and long term, stuff is gonna happen. And your attitude and your problem solving skills and your willingness to look at those situations as part of the adventure, as much as they may suck in the moment, is a good thing. Just missed my turn.
What a handsome idiot. If you've made any of these mistakes or you've got a worse one, drop it in the comments below because we'd love to hear them. And if you found this helpful, make sure to check out our video of 200 genius travel tips smart travelers actually use. Thanks so much for watching. Happy travels.